Welcome, one and all, to the first Pacific414 Pop Talk of 2022. Hope you all had a nice holiday, and let's see what we can get into here on the first episode for the new year and see what kind of shenanigans, non-shenanigans Hollywood has gotten themselves into. So let me go ahead and pull up the first article here as it pertains to Black Widow and its box office and how it actually did. So I've got it here. Now it should be appearing on your screen right now. Again, hope you're all doing well tonight. Hope you all had a good holiday. It's always nice to see you all here, whether you are able to watch this live or after the live stream is over. I appreciate each and every one of you. So, this article I'm about to read comes from comicbookmovie.com, and its original source was Deadline. So, the article starts off by saying Black Widow lost an unreal amount of money thanks to piracy caused by Disney Plus Premier Access release. Black Widow was released simultaneously in theaters and on Disney Plus last year, but the impact that had on the movie's box office takings was bigger than we previously suspected. Find more details here. Or, as someone who actually watched the movie, could it be that the movie just wasn't that good and people didn't go to see it? Now, again, that's my opinion. I didn't think it was good. And if you don't believe me, you can watch the review here on the channel. But honestly, I didn't think it was very good. You know, the Marvel humor, I've gotten to the point where, I'm done with the Marvel humor, and the story would have been a whole lot better if it had dealt with Budapest. And I even said it during my Hawkeye episode reviews that Hawkeye would have been better dealing with Budapest. You could have had Natasha there, you could have Clint there, and whoever you want to decide was the villain could have been the villain. The other could have been the hero. So let's go ahead and start reading this article. It said COVID-19 had an impact on Hollywood that is still being felt today, and that led to a lot of unique, unexpected decisions being made in 2020 and 2021. Though we didn't know at the time, releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus Premier Access the same day it hit theaters proved particularly controversial, leading to Scarlett Johansson ultimately suing the House of Mouse. That's all been resolved now, but a sticking point for the actress was how much money she lost from box office back-in payments as a result of that digital debut. Okay. Goes on to say, driving home this fact is new information shared by Deadline. The trade explains that Johansson likely settled her lawsuit with Disney for upwards of $40 million, with much of that lost money coming from pirated copies of Black Widow hitting streaming and torrent websites within minutes of its Disney Plus debut. Sources tell them that the Marvel Studios blockbuster was pirated more than 20 million times, leading to an estimated loss of $600 million in Disney Plus POVD, $29.99. And I wasn't going to pay that. I waited for the movie to become available for everybody on Disney Plus, and then watched it and wasn't that impressed. That's an insane amount and explains why the studio has since moved away from Premier Access. Yeah, nobody wants to pay that. It's hard to blame Disney for considering moving away from that theatrical model in such uncertain times, but it simply didn't work, at least not for movies with a blockbuster budget. Warner Brothers suffered more than most, though, as releasing huge movies like The Suicide Squad and Dune on HBO Max for free on the same day they premiered on the big screen really hurt them financially. How did you watch Black Widow when it was released? Well, I just said how I watched it when it was released. I waited for it to become free on Disney Plus. So I was going to give them $30 just to watch a movie that, I didn't particularly enjoy. I really didn't enjoy it. I wasn't really that engrossed into the storyline. The Marvel humor is a weakness in my view, and it just wasn't a good movie. To be perfectly honest, it just wasn't a good movie. And you expect more from Marvel, especially with everything they've brought to the table before. You expect them to be able to knock it out of the park at least 9 times out of 10. Maybe not 10 out of 10, but 9 times out of 10. You expect them to knock it out of the park. Now, another article I want to talk about is concerning the ratings for the Book of Boba Fett. Now, I have seen both episode 1 and episode 2. I gave episode 1 a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, episode 2, a quick take on it in a segment that I'm trying on this channel called Pacific414 Quick Takes, where I just tell you guys quickly my thoughts on a movie or a TV show or something that's going on. And honestly, today's episode, the first 14 to 15 minutes were very good. Very good. Especially when, and spoilers here, when, Jabba's family comes in and they want their territory back. And of course, we meet the mayor, who was only spoken of in episode 1, and situation involving the assassins and everything. But then once Boba got into that bacta tank, it slowed down. And yes, I've heard a lot of people, since I gave my quick take, say that it had that Dances with Wolves vibe going on with Boba and the Tusken Raiders. And yes, it did have a Dances with Wolves vibe to it. But see, here's the contrast. I like Dances with Wolves. I didn't like those parts of the episode. And even the train heist, I'm thinking, oh, come on. We don't need this. This isn't helping the story. In my view, it didn't help the story. So this is coming from Bounding into Comics. And it says, rumor, the Book of Boba Fett's ratings not doing as well in streaming as the Walt Disney Company would like. And it was released yesterday. No, I'm sorry, not yesterday. Sunday. Monday. Sorry. It's been a long day. But anyways, it was released on Monday, to correct myself. And it says, a new rumor claims that the latest Star Wars series on Disney Plus is not hitting the viewership numbers that the Walt Disney Company expected it to. It says, the rumor comes from scooper WDW Pro at the Park Place, who claims his sources informed him that the Book of Boba Fett was not doing as well in streaming numbers as the Walt Disney Company would like. Estimated viewership has not been released by data analytics tracking firms such as Samba TV or Nielsen yet. And it's unlikely Disney will divulge any data, as they have yet to do so in any transparent way yet for any of their shows on the streaming platform. Well, same with CBS All Access or Paramount Plus, whatever you want to call it. They're not doing that for Star Trek Discovery. But as we saw when Star Trek Discovery was put on network television this past year, well, it didn't do so well in the ratings. So that's, in fact, Nielsen hasn't provided updated data since the week ending of December 5th, when Netflix Lost in Space topped their charts with 1.2 billion minutes viewed. Co-Chameleon followed it in second place with 786 million minutes viewed. Goes on to say, these numbers don't necessarily match up with Netflix self-published data, which detailed that Lost in Space Season 3 had 47.38 million hours viewed for that week. True Story Limited Series was second on Netflix chart with 29.8 million hours viewed. The first season of Lost in Space was fourth on the chart. It had 20.92 million hours viewed. If you add Lost in Space Season 3 and Lost in Space Season 1's hours viewed together, that gives you a total of 68.3 million hours viewed, and that doesn't include viewership for Lost in Space Season 2. And there are the numbers right there. The article goes on to say there's a significant discrepancy between Nielsen's data and Netflix, as 1.2 billion minutes is only 20 million hours, a far cry from 68.3 million. That discrepancy could be due to the fact that Netflix's numbers are for all of their subscribers and potentially on different platforms, while Nielsen's data is specific to viewers in the United States through their televisions. That discrepancy could also account for the fact that if you limit Netflix chart to just the United States, True Story Limited Series takes a spot, followed by Lost in Space Season 3. Lost in Space Season 1 is 8th on the chart, while Co-Chameleon Season 4 is 7th. Goes on to say, nevertheless, there is still value to be found in Nielsen's data, as it looks specifically at television viewership in the United States, and the list does appear to loosely match up Netflix top viewed shows and movies in the United States. It does show that tracking viewership numbers is tricky, something WDW Pro takes into account when he admits it's nearly impossible to get data out of Disney about Disney Plus viewership numbers. Same with CBS All Access Paramount Plus. You can't get Viacom CBS to divulge their numbers. Hello, Brian. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by while you're also keeping an eye on Whoopa Wednesday over on Whoopa Troopa's channel. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. Article does say, however, he did look at the show's Google Trends, as we have done as well, and compared it to other pop culture properties to see where the Book of Boba Fett matched up. And those results are a paltry, as Google Trends reports the show is less popular than The Matrix Resurrections, a film that bombed spectacularly at the box office, only grossing a worldwide total 106 million. Ooh, oh man, that is ugly. That is ugly. And as Nerd4L says, smash that like button and subscribe to the salty body of Liquid himself, Pacific414, full of pop talks and box talks. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate that. You are one of the few channels I have the bell run for. Well, thank you. I am truly honored. Thank you, Brian. I really do appreciate that. And I am looking forward to our talk tomorrow with yourself, Spock, and a mystery guest, where we're going to be talking about season 2 of The Orville, but more specifically, episodes 6 through 9. And who knows? Who knows who that special guest might be? I certainly don't know, but I would love to find out. And we'll all find out tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, as well as we go into the Orville, and hopefully none of us Geloja. Okay. All right. I know that last part. I know that last part was bad. I'm never gonna say I'm a comedian. All my jokes are gonna be bad. But then if you've been to this channel before, you know my jokes are bad. So you're used to it. All right, let's continue on with this article. It says Samba TV has also reported the film was only viewed by 2.8 million households in the United States. Not this one. During its first 5 days on HBO Max. So it's quite possible to believe that the Book of Boba Fett has less viewership than The Matrix Resurrections. Ooh. Oh, that's not good. Ooh. Not good at all. In fact, the show also appears to be performing worse than Hawkeye, Marvel Studios' latest Disney Plus series that debuted on the platform at the end of November. Yes, and as I said with my Hawkeye reviews, Hawkeye would have been better suited as a movie. As I said at the beginning of this, with Black Widow losing over 600 million, they would have been better off having Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson star in a movie as their respective characters and have it take place in Budapest. That's what we wanted to see. We always hear about it, and yet we never actually see it. So if we actually saw it, it might have been a pretty good movie. Especially if it took place during Marvel Phase 2 or Marvel Phase 3. No, Brian. No. You don't have to worry about asking how I got my scars, too. Trust me. No. My father didn't take a knife and cut my mouth, okay? I'm not Heath Ledger's Joker. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. Don't get any ideas. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next article, which I will actually show on screen. But I will go ahead and link this article into the chat. This way, if anybody wants to go ahead and read it, they can. There we go. In case you want to divulge in that, that's there for you. And I will also include the one about Black Widow. 1 second as I copy the link, and now I'm going to paste it in the chat. And there you go. That's one thing I am going to try to do more often, especially as this is the new year. Whenever I do a pop talk, I'm going to try to post the links to the various articles I'm reading so you can follow along in case, as what happened here, as what has happened in the past, where I don't show the article on screen. So I am going to go ahead and move on to another article. And yes, some of these articles are old, but I'm going to read them since I took a break after the Smoking Patriot and I did our Back to the Future streams involving Back to the Future Part 1, Back to the Future Part 2, and Back to the Future Part 3, which you can all find on the channel. So let's go ahead and talk about The Matrix Resurrections, since that was mentioned in this article about the Book of Boba Fett. and they go hand in hand. And I'm just going to check the health of the stream real quick, make sure everything is good, because I want to make sure that you all can actually see this and there's no issues. So here we go. This is another article from Bounding into Comics. It says, after abysmal opening box... Let me start that again. After abysmal opening weekend box office, the Matrix Resurrections producer says no plans for more Matrix movies. There I go. So if you're keeping score at home, call that an E2. All right. So the article is by John F. Trent, and this was released on December 30th. And it goes on to say the Matrix Resurrections producer James McTeague stated that there are currently no plans for any more Matrix films following the Matrix Resurrections abysmal opening box office weekend. It says, according to the numbers, the film only grossed $12 million in its opening weekend, although since the film opened on Wednesday, it grossed a total of $22.5 million in its 5-day opening. That's still not good. It's still not good. I mean, it's a holiday weekend. If you go by how movies did on a holiday weekend, especially for a 5-day opening and opening on a Wednesday, in the past, a movie like The Matrix should have made bank. Yet it didn't. And yes, I know a lot of people can say, but Mike, you do realize there's a pandemic going on right now. Yes, I understand. But, that still doesn't, explain the fact that a movie like Matrix Resurrections doesn't make bank. I mean, yes, there are some factors into it as to why it's not making bank. One of them being that it is on HBO Max. One of it being that from word of mouth, it's not very good. So that's a factor right there. But you look at Spider-Man No Way Home, and I will be talking about that tonight. And you see that Spider-Man No Way Home is making bank. All right. So the article says, at the global box office, the film has raked in $44.2 million so far. That means its worldwide gross is $66.7 million. Now, this article, like I said, is from December 30th, so that number has gone up. It says the film reportedly had a budget of $190 million, meaning it would have needed to gross around $475 million to break even. Clearly, it's nowhere near that number and will likely never hit it. Goes on to say, aside from the film bombing at the box office, Saba TV reports that only 2.8 million U.S. households watched the film during its first 5 days on HBO Max. They reported on Instagram 2.8 million households watched The Matrix Resurrection during its first 5 days on HBO Max. Households in San Francisco, where much of the filming took place, over-indexed by 50%. Goes on to say, for comparison, Saba TV claimed that Dune was watched by 1.9 million U.S. households during its opening weekend on HBO Max. The film's opening weekend was $41 million. It's gone on to earn $106.9 million domestically and a worldwide gross of $394.5 million. Article continues by saying following the film's abysmal weekend, The Matrix Resurrections producer James McTeague spoke to Collider, informing the outlet that there are no plans for any further Matrix films. And why should there be if it's bombing so bad? And hello to Godzilla Air. Good to see you, brother. Happy New Year, brother. It goes on to say, he said, look, for us, I think at the moment, it's just the movie you've seen. We've got no prequel in mind. We've got no sequel in mind. We've got no further trilogy. Well, they should have just left it at a trilogy. And to be perfectly honest, they should have just left it at the first Matrix movie, and it should have been a standalone movie. However, while he claims that there are no plans at the moment, he did indicate there is a possibility for more. He detailed, but I think the film works where it's really open to audience interpretation, like what happened in those 60 years before they fished Neo out again, or Thomas Anderson to Neo when Neo and Trinity are there at the end and they're talking with the analysts. What do they actually mean that they're going to change? So you think that's it out there, but it's not in our wheelhouse at the moment, he asserted. McTeague would also admit there is a financial component on whether or not any new Matrix projects get made. There's always a financial part of it. There's always the filmmakers who want to make the films, and there's always the studios or the streamers who have the money to facilitate that, he admitted. So yeah, it's always a business equation as much as it is a creative equation. And honestly, why should they make another Matrix movie when nobody asked for this one? I didn't ask for this one. I can't speak for you guys, but I could probably safely say that you all didn't ask for this. And if you did, fine. I mean, we're all allowed to watch what we watch, like what we like, and, choose to skip what we don't want to watch and choose to dislike what we don't like. It's a free country. We don't have to agree on everything, but, we could at least have discourse about it and, keep it civilized. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and go into the first topic of business, or at least lead up to that first topic of business. Let me pull it up here. And this again is coming out of Bounding into Comics. Put up on screen here. And this article is by Spencer Bacall. It was released on Saturday, and it says Spider-Man No Way Home. Writers were unsure how film's ending lined up with Loki finale, revealing apparent lack of communication across Marvel. Goes on to say a recent interview with Spider-Man No Way Home writers Chris McKenna and Eric Summers has revealed that despite their film's purported dedication to being interconnected, communication between Marvel's various productions appears to be virtually non-existent. This apparent weakness in Marvel's grand strategy was touched upon by the pair during a recent interview with The Wrap. Asked by the site reporters Adam Chitwood and Drew Taylor how Marvel's schedule shuffle in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic affected their conclusion to the first MCU Spider-Man trilogy, McKenna recalled, "When we started breaking the story and even started writing the script, we followed Doctor Strange 2 in the timeline. So then during pre-production, things got pushed and changed," he explained. "We were supposed to start shooting in July 2020, and it became November 2020. Our release date got pushed back from July 2021 to December 2021. There were a lot of things flipping around. Originally, we were writing this where Strange was going to be involved, but it was after the events of Doctor Strange 2. And so where he is head, and so that's something that we were kicking around. McKenna continued, and then now it seems to be more of like, oh, it's actually gets him interested in pursuing the multiverse concept. All right. And real quick, I am going to once again share the link to this article. There you are. Goes on to say, it is in discussion of the subject that Marvel's apparent lack of inter-production communication makes itself known. Pressed by Chitwood and Taylor as to whether No Way Home's multiverse cracking finale had any relation to the conclusion to the first season of Disney Plus Loki, which saw reality rewrite itself in the wake of Sylvie's stabbing, he who remains Summers professed we were already down this road when that Loki finale happened. In further indication of Marvel's lack of planning, Summers added, we all felt like this really helps. This is great because it shows that there's trouble in the multiverse. Whether certain things that were happening in Loki line up in terms of the timeline exploding and is at the same time that Doctor Strange is casting the spell, I don't know. He admitted. There is, I'm sure, the Marvel talking points to that. But we were aware of a lot of different things that were going on, and we could draw on those. How it would be affected by this thing, but ultimately we had our own giant story there to wrestle with. What do you think of the lack of communication between the writers' rooms of Spider-Man No Way Home and Loki? Let us know your thoughts on social media and in the comments down below, is what the article says. Well, in my opinion, in order for a team to operate at full efficiency, the coaches, the coaching staff, front office, and yes, I'm putting this in sports terms. I will be bringing up baseball, of course. If you've never been to this channel before, during the baseball season, I recap the Chicago Cubs games of the day. So, in other words, there needs to be communication between the front office personnel, the manager, the coaching staff, the players on the field. The pitching coach needs to work with the pitchers. They get them all on the same page. If there's any mechanics that need to be worked out, you work out those mechanics. Same with the hitting coaches and fielding coaches. You want to make sure if your guys are struggling at the plate that they work on their hitting. If they're struggling with their fielding, then the coach is in charge of infield drills and fielding and outfield drills and fielding. Well, you want to make sure that the players keep working at it even after spring training. So this all falls on Kevin Feige. This all falls on Kevin Feige. He's the big head honcho there at Marvel. He's the one that's supposed to be giving everybody the playbook to let them know, okay, A is going on while B is going on, while C is going on, while D is going on. He needs to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Communication is always key, but apparently there's a lack of communication when it comes to Marvel. So let's go ahead and move on to another article. And I want to thank you all for coming by tonight and tuning in tonight. Really appreciate it. And this is also related to Spider-Man No Way Home, and it's talking about its box office. I will post a link in the chat here momentarily. And there we go. 1 second. I am also going to do one more thing real quick. So please bear with me as I do this, because I forgot to put a notification in a couple spots. So here we go. And there we are. And one more spot. And I will get back to reading the article about Spider-Man No Way Home and its box office. And if you haven't seen it, I do have my review of Spider-Man No Way Home here on the channel. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It's definitely a movie where you can sit back, relax, and enjoy. Turn off your brain and enjoy. Eat your popcorn, eat your candy, drink your soda. Just sit back, relax, and have fun. All right, so this article again is from Bounty in the Comics. It's written by John F. Trent. It was released on Monday. And it says Spider-Man No Way Home earns more at the box office than Shang-Chi, Black Widow, and Eternals combined. So the article starts off by saying Spider-Man No Way Home continued to dominate the box office with its worldwide gross, now topping Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings, and Eternals combined. It says the latest Spider-Man film brought in another $52.7 million at the domestic box office in the last weekend of 2021, bringing its domestic gross to $609.8 million and its worldwide gross to $1.3 billion, according to the numbers. And I'll go ahead and post that link as well. There you go. It says both Spider-Man No Way Home's domestic and worldwide grosses top all three of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe entries in 2021. That's because Spider-Man No Way Home is an enjoyable movie. Really, if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you've already seen it and you're thinking about going to see it for a second time, why not? Third time, why not? Fourth time, why not? It's your money. Use it how you want. Goes on to say Black Widow earned only $183.6 million domestically and $375.4 million worldwide, albeit the film was released on Disney Plus the same day it was released in theaters. Disney claimed the film earned $60 million from premiere access purchases on Disney Plus. Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings domestic gross sits at $224.5 million with a worldwide gross of $417.9 million. The film hit these marks without any competition for over a month at the box office. Eternals, the worst performing MCU film of 2021, only grossed $164.7 million at the domestic box office. Its worldwide gross was $399.6 million. Goes on to say, if you add up all three films' domestic gross totals, you get $572.9 million, well below Spider-Man No Way Home's $609.8 million. Looking at the worldwide box office, Spider-Man No Way Home crushes the three films. Their combined total is only $1.193 billion. Even if you add the $60 million from Disney Plus Premier Access of Black Widow, that brings combined global gross of all three films to $1.253 billion. Goes on to say that's still over $100 million below Spider-Man No Way Home's $1.368 billion. Wow, that's a lot of money. As YouTuber OMD Reviews points out, Spider-Man No Way Home destroys the pandemic narrative surrounding the poor box office results of Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings, and Eternals. The YouTuber states, again, this is a pandemic era film, which is destroying various pre-pandemic films in the box office, which again is destroying the pandemic box office narrative, which has been used as an excuse for countless box office flops this year. And it just goes to show that if you create a product that people actually want to go see, if you create something for fans, for the fans, by the fans, I don't know necessarily if that's true, but it's something that's actually for the fans, he continues. If you actually provide fan service and actually provide a story and actually provide the hype around that story, fans will actually end up going out to see that film in droves, which is why this film is outpacing not just films like Rogue One, The Dark Knight, but it is also outpacing, as of this point, films like Avengers Infinity War, at the very least in the domestic box office, he asserts. In fact, Spider-Man No Way Home is the 10th grossing film of all time at the domestic box office. It sits behind Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, Avatar, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Titanic, Jurassic World, The Avengers, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. It has moved past Incredibles 2, The Lion King, The Dark Knight, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. The film also holds the record for the highest grossing weekend of December, with its opening weekend bringing in a whopping $260.1 million. That beat out Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and the second weekend of Star Wars The Force Awakens. Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't have just the highest grossing weekend in December. It also holds the 8th spot with the weekend of December 24th, grossing $84.5 million. As for OMD Reviews' claim that the film is outpacing Avengers Infinity War at the domestic box office, it's on point. As you can see in the chart below, Spider-Man No Way Home's domestic gross is in its 17th day, at the box office, sits at $609.8 million. In comparison, Avengers Infinity War had only grossed $548 million. It didn't hit $609.4 million until its 29th day in theaters. Interesting fact there. Goes on to say, what do you make of Spider-Man No Way Home's dominance at the box office despite it being a pandemic era film? It just goes to show, you give your consumers a good movie that they actually want to see, and they will give you the money. I have seen 3 things at the end of 2021 that I have given money for just to see it. I went ahead and reactivated my Netflix account so I could watch season 4 of Cobra Kai. I didn't want to pirate it. I wasn't going to pirate it. And my reasoning being is because I want more Cobra Kai. And from what I saw in this 4th season, it is a show that I hope, and I'm not going to say pray, I guess I could say pray. Hope, pray, fingers crossed, and as Nerd Portal and I discussed on Sunday, I would like to see this show go 7 seasons. Cobra Kai is worth it. Cobra Kai was released by Sony Television. Then the other item I saw, which is available on digital right now and comes out on Blu-ray and DVD on February 1st, is Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really enjoyed that movie. I really did. My review of Ghostbusters Afterlife is also on this channel. And then, of course, No Way Home. All three came from Sony. All three were excellent, in my opinion. If you haven't seen any of them yet, I recommend you see them. I highly recommend that you see them. So, since I've mentioned Cobra Kai, why don't I talk about Cobra Kai and its fourth season? Because I do have an article here about Cobra Kai and its fourth season. I just have to find it once again. All right, Mike, where did you put it? Well, let me get to it real quick. I'm looking here. I thought I had it organized. There it goes. There we go. I found it. Put it on screen. And here we go. Cobra Kai Season 4 becomes most watched show on Netflix, unseating The Witcher Season 2. I like that. I know there was too much dead air there for those few seconds. I've got to improve on that. And that's one of the things I have to improve on. The whole goal for this channel in 2022 is to improve in my presentation, improve in video quality, video editing. It's to improve and grow. And the only one that can do that is me. So this article from Bounty in the Comics, and it was released just yesterday, and it was written by John F. Trent, says Cobra Kai Season 4 becomes the most watched show on Netflix, unseating The Witcher Season 2. It goes on in the first paragraph here saying Netflix provided their weekly update to their top 10 list, with Cobra Kai Season 4 taking the top spot for English language TV on the entire streaming service. Cobra Kai Season 4 clocked in with 120 million hours viewed in its debut week. The show premiered on December 31st. The Witcher Season 2 dropped to the second spot, but it was still had by 94.27 million hours viewed for the week of December 27th to January 2nd. The rest of the top 10 included Emily in Paris Season 2, The Witcher Season 1, Stay Close Season 1, Emily in Paris Season 1, Queer Eye Season 6, Cobra Kai Season 1, Crime Scene, The Times Square Killer, Limited Series, and World War II in Color, Road to Victory Season 1. And I have actually watched World War II in Color, Road to Victory. I highly recommend it for any history buffs, or any history buffs who particularly study World War II. If you just look at the United States, the list looks very familiar. However, Netflix doesn't provide their hours viewed metric. The top 10 are Cobra Kai Season 4, The Witcher Season 2, Emily in Paris Season 2, The Witcher Season 1, The Silent Sea Season 1, Queer Eye Season 6, Stay Close Season 1, Crime Scene, The Times Square Killer, Limited Series, Emily in Paris Season 1, and The Queen of Flow Season 2. And there's a chart right there. And let me go ahead and include this article in here. And there you are in the chat. So even folks on the replay will be able to click on the articles. As for non-English speaking TV, that list is topped by The Silent Sea Season 1 with 47.83 million hours viewed. It also includes The Queen of Flows Season 2, Money Heist Part 5, Daughter from Another Mother Season 2, Café con Aroma de Mure. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Season 1, Squid Game Season 1, The Girl from Oslo Season 1, Singles Inferno Season 1, Our Beloved Summer Season 1, and The Queen of Flow Season 1. Goes on to say, if you combine the two lists, Cobra Kai Season 1 remains the top dog across all of TV on Netflix. In fact, the top 3 English-speaking TV series remain the same, with The Witcher Season 2 in second, Emily in Paris Season 2 in third, and The Witcher Season 1 in fourth. However, The Silent Sea Season 1, with its 47.83 million hours viewed, slides into fourth. The Witcher Season 1 is in fifth. Stay Close Season 1 is in sixth. The Queen of Flow Season 2 is seventh. Money Heist Part 5 is eighth. Emily in Paris Season 1 is ninth. And Daughter from Another Mother Season 2 is 10th. The top 10 English-speaking film on Netflix was Don't Look Up. It had 152.29 million hours viewed. It's the second week in a row the film was at the top spot. The previous week saw its hours viewed top the charts with 111.3 million. It might be surprising to see hours viewed increased in its second week, but appears to be a norm for Netflix as their TV shows and movies are released toward the end of the week, meaning only the last 3 days of its premiere week are tracked compared to a full 7 days in its second week. The rest of the top 10 English-speaking films were The Unforgivable, The Lost Daughter, Back to the Outback, Red Notice, Spider-Man Homecoming, Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, Death to 2021, Journey to the Mysterious Island, and Spider-Man. Well, everybody was getting pumped up for Spider-Man No Way Home. That's why those Spider-Man movies were being viewed. Looking at just the United States, Don't Look Up was still on top. However, movies like Spider-Man Homecoming and Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw are nowhere to be seen because they aren't available to be viewed in the United States. Instead, the rest of the top 10 featured The Lost Daughter, The Unforgivable, Back to the Outback, Journey to the Mysterious Island, Death to 2021, Red Notice, Vicky and Her Majesty, The Shack, and Oh Boy. Okay, so it continues to go on about the top 10 movies and how they did top 10 shows, but it's no surprise that Cobra Kai Season 4 has done so well in its first few days because people were anticipating it. People were looking forward to it. And the main reason why is because it's a damn fine show. It's a show where I can sit down, few days at least. I wouldn't say a whole weekend, but a few days. Watch season 1, watch season 2, watch season 3, watch season 4. I've already watched season 4 twice already. I'm probably going to go and watch the entire series that we have so far within the next few days. So that'll be fun. So let's go ahead and move on from that. And again, some of these articles I'm going to be reading tonight are current, some of them are not. As you all know, Cowboy Bebop has been canceled. And honestly, I'm sticking to the anime itself. I'm not giving the Netflix live action adaptation anytime. I'm not doing it. Even if someone asks me to do it, it's going to be a hard sell. So let's get on to this. Let's get on to what DC continues to do to the Man of Steel. This article was released a couple days ago, actually on January 2nd. And it was released, and Spencer McCauley is the author of this article. And it says DC Comics implies Superman was sexually tortured. Scene described as commentary on how in America, when bad things happen to people who are traditionally marginalized, there's this feeling of let's just move on. According to 12 Years a Slave screenplay writer turned comics author John Ridley, his decision to pen a story for DC Comics in which Superman is implied to have been sexually tortured during one of his previous Silver Age adventures was made in order to provide commentary on his personal perception that the prevailing culture in this country is when bad things happen to people who are traditionally marginalized, there's this feeling of, okay, we get it. It was wrong. Let's just move on. Trust me, I've been told in my own life when things have happened to me that it's time to move on. And you know what? That's what you have to do sometimes. So this goes on to say, recently making the rounds on social media, Ridley's untitled tale features in the first issue of the recent Superman Red and Blue anthology series and serves as a continuation to a two-part story originally published in 1970's World's Finest Volume 1, number 192 to 193, where the Man of Steel and the Dark Knight were held prisoner in a death camp run by the state's Soviet dictator, Colonel Kozlov. Goes on to say, written by Bob Haney and illustrated by Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito. The originally story sees Colonel Kozlov capture Superman by first staging a false flag train derailment to lure him into the country, and then with the Man of Steel distracted, depowering him with a targeted bombardment of synthetic kryptonite radio waves. After attempting to sneak his way out of Kozlov's clutches, running into a number of Lubanian soldiers dressed like the Dark Knight as part of PSYOP along the way, Superman stumbles upon Batman, who reveals he came to the Soviet country in order to investigate his friend's disappearance. Unfortunately, the two are then caught by Kozlov himself, who throws the titular World's Finest into one of Lubania's infamous death camps. From there, Superman and Batman are seen subjected to various cruelties of the Soviet Union's prison system in an attempt to break their spirits, including hard labor, starvation, and humiliation for nothing more than the guards' enjoyment. These conditions are shown to be particularly mentally taxing on Superman, who, as observed by Batman, was not prepared as I am for this kind of treatment. Eventually, the heroes devise a plan to switch costumes, thus misleading Kozlov's kryptonite waves into being directed at Batman and allowing Superman to slowly regain his powers. Soon after Superman returns to full strength, the pair escape and return to Washington, leaving a disgraced Kozlov to fall victim to the very death camp he once oversaw. Returning to Lubania as Clark under the auspices of interviewing Kozlov for the Daily Planet, Superman, seeking to conduct his own personal form of therapy, asks his taxi driver to make a stop at his former prison on the way to the one-sided reunion. Slowly making his way through the now defunct facility, Superman then begins to reminisce on his time as Kozlov's captive. I was held for 8 months, he recalls. 8 months of starvation, indoctrination, and forced labor. 8 months of being used as propaganda, a tool to prove the weakness of the West. But I'm Superman, right? Superman's invulnerable. Superman can survive anything. That was the lie I told myself every night. It is here that really appears to put a darker, more violent spin on Superman's time in captivity. One neither seen nor hinted at in the original story, but rather only assumed as a possibility due to the real-world implications of its setting. As Clark turns to confront his own implied sexual torture at the hands of Kozlov's men, his memory showing him restrained in a bent-over position and screaming out in pain from what the dialogue suggests to be some combination of both outright rape and penetration with foreign objects. Clark continues, but every day they would drag me into the interview room. Every day they would restrain me in a way that left me exposed and vulnerable. And every day for 8 months, they did things to me. Goes on to say, they did things to me while I was forced to look at him. Nikolai Kozlov, the commander of the Shurvanaz, I don't know if I'm saying that right, the devil of Lubania or Lubania. It wasn't just the torture. Kozlov showed me what it's like to be truly without power, helpless in a way Luthor or Brainiac never made me feel, humiliated and shamed. Walking back to the cab, Clark makes his way to his interview, meeting Kozlov at a restaurant for lunch. Faking interest through a conversation of the former dictator's current business empire, Clark eventually gets to his only real point of interest. Did he have any remorse for all the thousands who died at his camp? Did he care? In the end, Kozlov was neither reformed nor remorseless. Clark ultimately reveals he did. Yeah, sorry about that. He dismissed my question, saying that many people had made mistakes during the Cold War years. The West had won, and all any of us could do now was move on. However, Clark is left unsatisfied with his response, concluding to himself, it's easy to move on when you're the victimizer and not the victim. Shortly after its publication, Ridley opened up about his choice to explore this dark period in Superman's history in an interview with CBR contributor D.R. Bickham. Asked by Bickham if there was a particular reason he chose to focus on a moment in his life when he was most vulnerable, Ridley replied, what makes heroes most interesting to me is when you see their vulnerabilities, their humanity. To me, just as a writer, one of the things that's really challenging, whether it's film or TV or graphic novels, is that sense of false jeopardy when you know nothing's going to happen to the hero. So you go through an entire story and end up essentially where you began, he explained. You know, Bruce is not going away. Clark is not going away. Diana is not going away. Oliver is not going away. They just can't, people love them. They sell comic books. They sell t-shirts. They sell mugs. He continued, so you get it. You have to write these stories that are exciting, but they have to remain. But for me as a writer, irrespective of whether it's comic books or TV or movies, it dissipates some of the storytelling when you have that false jeopardy. You get that cliffhanger at the end of the book, and everything's going to turn out all right. So for me, anytime you see that, you can see heroes as people where there's pain, where there's loss, where there are things that they can't control, where they're made to feel human, where they doubt themselves. There's an element of real life in there. The writer adds, "No, I understand that so much comic books is about wish fulfillment, and I don't want to take any of that away, but part of wish fulfillment to me is not about being so super that you're impervious, but being so human that part of being extraordinary is just getting past some of your own fears and anxiety." Well, sorry to say, Ridley, but again, this is a comic book. Comic books aren't supposed to be about fantasy. They're not supposed to be about reality. Yes, some elements of reality are thrown into comics, but comics are escape. Movies are an escape. TV shows are an escape. We escape to comic books, movies, and TV shows because of what's going on in the real world. We escape to those mediums for a few moments or maybe a few hours, but that's what it is, and it's an escape. So I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him that you have to see vulnerabilities in comic book characters. Yes, you want comic book characters to go through some sort of path where they have to learn about themselves and they have to be able to grow, but you don't have to throw the real world into a comic book. You don't have to throw the real world into a comic book movie. You don't have to throw the real world into a comic book TV show. Let the comic books be comic books. Let them be fun. Let them be inspirational. Let them be that fantasy that they are. So yeah, that's all I'm going to read of this article. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's see. I will continue with the Superman theme and go to this article right here. And I will once again post the link into the comic section. And again, this is out of Bounding into Comics. And it says, resurfaced interview clip shows co-creator Jerry Siegel confirmed Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. This is by J.B. Augustine and was released on Monday, January 3rd. And it says, we know how DC feels about Superman's once upon a time motto these days, which they've altered, and how some who have portrayed the hero like Tim Daly have taken a liking to the new one for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Others who are forever linked to the Man of Steel, mainly Dean Cain and the average Joe, who grew up with the character, are lukewarm, to say the least, to the departure from the American way after so many years. Most of them don't get it, and it's easy to see why. Dumbfounded, they ask themselves, why would Superman abandon the American way or his citizenship? Why wouldn't he hold on to these things when he was raised by simple Kansas farmers? These are questions DC failed to ruminate over thoroughly and answer to a point in a way that alienates their readership. The answer typically boils down to Supes shouldn't be stuck in the past and should represent all people now of every background. DC editors thinking there in so many words is you must be of a certain background or nationality to relate to the small town farm boy Clark Kent, pushed back against this ethos by various readers and comic insiders of varying stripes, from Ethan Van Sciver to Gabe, I'm probably going to mispronounce his last name, Eltab. I hope I'm saying it right. And Eric July is academic at this point and is a topic to delve into again for another time. Okay. What's crucial at present is the creators who balk at DC's whims and the average John Q fan who understands what a culture icon Superman is have support for the surefire VIP of the comics lore. Someone who knows all about the Man of Tomorrow because he created him. I'm talking about the legend Jerry Siegel, whose words of wisdom about Superman stand for and why he was created echo from beyond the grave. In an unearthed clip from an interview in the 1980s with BBC4, Siegel says quite clearly he agrees with the idea his and Joe Shuster's creation stands for truth, justice, and the American way. The video was shared on Facebook by the page Comic Book Historians, and at first Siegel opened up about why he and Shuster conjured Big Blue onto the page. With the world in such bad shape during World War II, he said people desperately needed a crusader, if only a fictional one. Asked then if he could say what Superman stood for, Spiegel replied, exactly the model used on the TV show starring George Reeves. That's to say, truth, justice, and the American way. To clarify, Siegel describes the Man of Steel as a very clean-cut guy who could rule the world and is all-powerful, but instead he uses his powers to aid the helpless and the deserving rather than exploit them. There you have it, testimony from someone who ought to matter in the conversation. Siegel and Shuster look back at the genesis of Superman in the comics and in-depth exploration of his history by BBC's docuseries Arena can be seen in the following video. The snippet of Siegel discussing the character's stand on the American way comes in the first minute. So I will go ahead. I won't be playing this, but I'm going to copy the URL and put it into the chat. So if you want to catch the video, you can. There you are. For many, and I'm sure for Siegel, he is talking about America in a nutshell and what the American way means to lift up the little guy and resist tyranny like Superman always does. Bearing in mind, I mean, on Earth Prime, for the most part outside of any Injustice-style Elseworld scenarios. DC is turning their backs on this legacy, and it turns out the wishes of the character's creator, whom they stiffed before for decades when it came to rumination, how sad that some things never change. It's because they don't care. As we've seen in many properties, and I'm not going to touch on them all, but we've seen in many properties where our heroes are being turned into villains, our villains are being turned into heroes. You know, the villains are misunderstood. The villains, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't mean to do what they're doing. And that's a load of crock. That is a load of crock. So, what do you all think? Do you think it should still be the truth, justice, and the American way, or do you like the current model? I like the older model. You know, if it's not broken, why fix it? And now, I'm going to read the next article, and it's concerning the passing of the late, great Betty White. She was a great comedian, great entertainer, you know, great animal rights activist, and just shy of her 100th birthday, she passed away on New Year's Eve. Betty White's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is drawing a crowd, and folks are leaving candles, flowers, stuffed animals, and other tokens. And then, of course, this part is showing the beginnings of a makeshift memorial outside Betty White's house are underway. I'm sure there's a lot more now. It says one fan has already stopped by to place flowers under a tree at the gate and pay their respects. A source close to Betty tells TMZ she didn't have any sudden illness, nor was she battling any particular ailment. We're told she's believed to have died from natural causes. It says emergency responders, including police, showed up at her home Friday morning as a standard procedure. As we told you back in 2020, rarely left her home once the COVID-19 pandemic began. Beloved actress, comedian, and American icon Betty White has died just weeks before a milestone birthday, TMZ learned. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ Betty passed away at her home just before 9:30 a.m. Friday. A trailblazer, a pioneer in media, Betty had the longest running career for any woman in TV prior to her death. Starring in multiple shows over the past 8 decades, starting way back in 1939, Betty is perhaps most famous for her lead role as Rose Nyland in The Golden Girls, which ran from 1985 to 1992. She'd been in tons of other big hits throughout her career. Betty had her start in radio in the 1940s, making appearances on Blondie, The Great Gildersleeve, and This Is Your FBI. She eventually got her own radio program. In 1949, she began working on a TV variety show with Al Jarvis called Hollywood on Television, which she later co-hosted before breaking out into more TV roles. Her breakout comedic role came from 1973 when she played Sue Ann Nivens on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, which ran until 1977, and then she got her starring role in The Betty White Show. With 115 acting credits to her name, Betty had roles in productions like Life with Elizabeth, Date with the Angels, The Love Boat, Mama's Family, The Golden Palace, Ladies Man, That 70s Show, Higglytown Heroes, Boston Legal, The Bold and the Beautiful, Pound Puppies, Hot in Cleveland, and many, many more. Betty won 5 Primetime Emmy Awards, including 2 for The Mary Tyler Moore Show, 1 for Golden Girls, and 1 for her 1975 SNL appearance, along with Screen Actors Guild Awards, American Comedy Awards, and even a 2012 Grammy. She's been nominated for several Golden Globes and has also been honored with lots of Lifetime Achievement Awards and celebrations through several organizations. Betty had just made headlines this week when she told people, I've heard Ryan Reynolds can't get over his thing for me. They co-starred in the 2009 movie The Proposal. Ryan jokingly responded on Twitter, I'm absolutely sick of the media exploiting past relationships just to drive clicks. The last time we got Betty White on camera, she was teasing the launch of her Facebook page back in 2012. As we reported, Betty had been extra cautious during the pandemic, mostly chilling at home and passing the time by reading, watching TV, and doing crossword puzzles. Betty was 99 and she would have celebrated her 100th birthday on January 17th. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to a legend indeed. There will never be another Betty White. No, once they casted that mold and Betty White was created, that mold was broken. We lost a great one, folks. We really did. We really lost a great one. But, takes solace in knowing that she lived a good long life. There's a lot of media out there that she's in where generation upon generation can discover her and generations can remember her. And that's what we will do. We will remember Betty White. So, with that being said, I'm going to find one more article to read before I call it a night for this episode of Pacific414 Pop Talk. All right. No, not that one. Let's go back to Spider-Man here. And I'll go ahead and post the link. Let's end this on a happy note here. All right. So our last article of the night comes from comicbook.com. It's by Adam Barnhart. It was released yesterday, and it says Tom Holland wouldn't change single moment of Spider-Man No Way Home. Goes on to say, if Tom Holland had to film Spider-Man No Way Home all over again, the actor says he would do everything exactly the same. In a new spoiler-filled interview with Marvel.com, Holland admits he wouldn't change a single moment of the entire No Way Home process. Celebrating the massive success of the flick, Holland added that the film is essentially a celebration of 3 different generations of Spider-Man stories. Honestly, being Spider-Man has changed my life. It's been incredible. The roller coaster from the moment I got to the moment we've got off. Let me read that over again. I don't like how I read it. So I'm going to start over again. Okay, so it starts off by saying, honestly, being Spider Man has changed my life. It's been incredible. The roller coaster from the moment I got on to the moment we've got off has just been absolutely amazing. The No Way Home actor said, the film really is a celebration of three generations of cinema. I was delighted to kind of be at the helm and be the captain of the ship, which was awesome. It's been incredible. It's honestly been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Goes on to say, Spider-Man No Way Home continues to put up killer numbers at the box office, and the flick is already the 10th highest grossing feature to ever hit the domestic box office. Whatever the case, Holland has also suggested he should earn some looks from the Academy for his performance. I do know that I love this character, and I would be sad to say goodbye, Holland said in a stop with The Hollywood Reporter. But I have achieved basically everything I wanted to achieve as this character. I really think I'm going to win the Oscar for this movie. So it's great. Spider-Man No Way Home was actually the first time with Tom Holland that, in my opinion, you actually really started to care about his version of Peter Parker. That the stakes were high for his character. Okay, so it goes on to say, I'm so proud of what everybody's achieved. John Watts especially, and even the likes of Amy Pascal, the actor added elsewhere. We had a wonderful day the other day. I went over to her house and we watched a couple of movies together, and she really opened up about her career and the changes in her career and a lot of the controversy that she went through related to the Sony hack. So to see her where she is now, a different Amy to the Amy I'm sure she was years ago, these people deserve the recognition. Spider-Man No Way Home is now in theaters. So yeah, Tom Holland wouldn't change a thing, and why would you? It's a great movie. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's a great movie to sit back, relax, and enjoy. And that's what you do at movies that are geared to entertain the audience, the paying customer, the consumer, because we are the consumer. We are the paying customer. They say the customer is always right. And in some respects, yes. And in some respects, no. But when it comes to movies and TV shows, if we like it, we'll watch it. If we don't like it, we won't watch it. If we want to give our opinion on it, we'll give our opinion. Good, bad, indifferent. That's one of the things that we are all allowed to do. One of the many things we are all allowed to do is to give our opinion. Whether someone agrees with it or not, it shouldn't deter you from giving your own opinion. You should be allowed to give your opinion, and if someone doesn't like your opinion, then you can ask them why. What is it about my opinion that you don't like? Have a civil discussion about it, but you don't have to get mean and nasty about it. And that's what I notice a lot on social media, and even seeing people out in public. Is some people just get nasty about it, and there's no need to. So if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, go see it, because Tom Holland wouldn't change it. And why should you? So, with that being said, I am going to wrap up this episode of Pacific414 Pop Talk. I want to thank you all for coming by during the live, coming by in the replay. Thank you all very much. I also want to say thank you to the Neuroporeal Lifeform for coming by tonight. And I also want to thank Godzillionaire for coming by tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. And speaking of the Neuroporeal Lifeform, 1 second here, I am going to post his link in the chat. As tomorrow we are having our Orville Season 2 discussion on episodes 6 through 9 of Season 2. So let me get his channel up here. And I think I saw him post earlier today that he was going to be doing a live stream on his own. So you might be able to catch his live stream tonight, and I'm sure he would appreciate it. He's a good friend. So give him your support, say hello, and let him know Mike sent you. Because one thing about the Neuroporeal Lifeform is he puts up very good content, and as a matter of fact, he is currently live on his channel, so go over and say hi. Hello. Hello there. There you are. There's a link to the Neuroporeal Lifeforms channel. And thank you once again for tuning in to tonight's Pop Talk. I will hopefully see you all tomorrow night on Neuroporeal's channel as we talk about Season 2 of the Orville. I might stream a game on Friday. Not sure yet. But don't worry, there will be more streams. I'll probably do more quick takes. And who knows? I might even pop up on someone else's stream. You never know. So until then, good night. Take care. And if you like what you saw here, give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. And subscribe to the Pacific414 YouTube channel. Because if you do, you're 414. And you can also find me over on Discord, Twitter, and Instagram. Those links are down in the description below. And have a great night, everyone. Take care.